since you're one of 22 attorney generals that have filed an action against the president's removal of or withdrawal of the permit, and so I'm curious about your brief. I'm a structural engineer. I'm not an attorney, but I want to understand more about what can we do in Congress to prevent a president from being able to do this in the future. I would assume that you say something about that in your brief.
Well, the biggest point to that, Mr. Chairman, I mean, you guys have done it. Congress acted on Keystone XL clear back in 2011. So from my perspective as a constitutional guy and as an attorney, this is a settled issue. Article 2, Section 8 of the Constitution says only the Congress gets to regulate foreign and interstate commerce. And that's exactly what you've got here. Congress has done that. Congress has acted. To me, this looks like the president trying to reach back in time, literally a decade, and veto legislation that was in front of his previous boss, in which President Obama elected not to veto. So, okay. I mean, there's maybe an Administrative Procedures Act argument to be made by the Congress, but I mean, when you've got a president that at least is acting like he wants to ignore the act of Congress and act unilaterally on his own, I guess I'm not sure what to do with that other than do what we've done and file suit.
Thank you, and I appreciate the fact you did that. My second question is to Premier Mo. Look, unfortunately, in this age of misinformation, the opposition party here is deliberately misleading the public on Keystone Pipeline. Like just back in February, a Democrat member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, the very committee that we're coming from here, boasted that revoking the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline would actually prevent the discharge of nearly 180 million tons of CO2 emissions into the atmosphere annually. That this was stopped, and she was proud of that. So I know you made some comment about that, Premier Mo, but I'd like to reinforce it. I was under the impression that Canada was still going to develop their oil sands and the tar sands, and they were going to ship it. So am I wrong, or was she wrong on saying it's not going to happen now? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, no, she was incorrect. The oil sands continues to attract investment and continues to reduce its emissions profile as well. In fact, their target is to reduce it by 27% by the year 2030. And that's something I think people should be aware of. I spoke to Saskatchewan's emissions reductions plan around methane, 45% reduction, 15% overall in the energy industry. And the fact that if the world operated on Canada's flaring standards, it would be a net reduction in emissions around the world by 25%. But yeah, no, this product is going somewhere. It should be going down into the U.S. because it checks the box of North American energy security, North American economic security, and provides jobs for us on both sides of the border. And it does actually provide a net reduction in emissions. I think both of the other presenters had mentioned that emissions will be going up with the cancellation of Keystone. And what will happen to the energy in Saskatchewan and Alberta is about 300,000 barrels of it is going to go into the TMX pipeline out to the West Coast. There is some of it will travel by truck and rail down to the Gulf Coast. There is some talk now of a potential of another Eastern pipeline. And there's also some discussion around with some Indigenous groups and companies on another transport corridor through the kind of the northern areas of the province back out to the West Coast. West Coast is fine for the Western Canadian energy industry. It certainly does nothing to building that North American energy and economic security that we're all after. And ultimately, you know, you're going to continue to have barges delivering oil into the Gulf Coast, into where this energy could actually displace that. That is a better environmental value. And I would say collectively provides us, and I speak a lot about North American, you know, energy and economic security. This collectively takes a large step towards that.
Thank you. I want to squeeze in one quick question back to John Studi, if I could. Just maybe it's a yes or no, but given that the to your people in the pipeline, there are 11,000 jobs have been lost. Would those workers be able to find other employment with the same wage base in your immediate area?
Thank you. We've certainly seen, when you look at the comparable jobs, that many of the jobs that they could find are lower in pay, up to 30% lower in pay, and there's fewer of them. So depending on where you are, getting a green job or a renewable job might be a good thing. But people should really pause if the policy is to force people to take a pay cut or force people out of work. Especially in today's economic times, that's not the thing to do.
Thank you, John.